Malabkeen, everyone. Welcome to the show. This is the Social Hour. I am Deece. Thank you for coming around for another episode of the show. We appreciate you being here. If you like what you hear, tell a friend, let them know, rate us on your favorite pod app, wherever you catch your finer podcasts, and also this one too. Guys, if you're seeing my face and not just listening to my voice, it is because you are in the inaugural episode of our new show format. In addition to our old show format, we are now part of the Madness Entertainment Network. They've got a lot of shows are on the network. I've been on a lot of their shows. You are now able to find us on all of their channels. You're going to find out more about all those channels as soon as I get more information about all those channels too and where you find us. But we're going to be on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Rumble, Grinder. I don't know. They put us everywhere. We're going to do it. And you can now get video feed of the show every week too, which is great. The show schedule for the video ones might be a little different than the audio ones, but the point is you get to look at this face and look at our guests and catch us on a lot of new places. So follow the Madness Entertainment Network. We'll be posting links all over the social medias, so you can check that out. We're excited to be a part of it. Big plans for expansion of the show, expansion of their network, as advertising opportunities, all kinds of stuff that we're going to be doing. So looking forward to kind of pushing this thing and getting back on the horse. This was like a big part of what I did for so long, and then it was just kind of life got busy, man. So, I'm happy to be able to be putting some more time into the show. I'm looking for a dedicated audio space so I can start bringing a crew back into the show, get a producer, a news anchor, and have guests in studio with us more often again. I tried to build a new audio studio in my house in Texas. Unfortunately, my air conditioning is just way too fucking loud, and it's way too fucking hot in Texas. So I can't do the show without an air conditioner. And if we use the air conditioner, all you'd hear was that. So I'm trying to figure out that problem to get us into a dedicated audio space and bring a full service and the social hour back to what it used to be, the kind of show we used to do. So stay tuned. But we're here now. We're here tonight, or wherever you're listening to this or watching it, guys. So anyway, that's that. Check it out. And, stay tuned for more announcements on everything that comes along with the new network and where you can find us. But again, YouTube, Rumble, I know, Twitter, all kinds of stuff. So guys, if you're listening to this the day it comes out, though, I've got some live comedy dates coming up. This Wednesday, I will be at Bourbon and Branch in Spring Valley, Texas. And then Thursday, I will be at Flower and Flower in Leon Valley, Texas. And then we've got our 420 THC show coming up at Upstage Comedy Lounge in San Antonio. Tickets are going fast for that. That show is going to sell out. We're doing it on 419 instead of 420. Because 420 is the birth of our Lord and Savior, Easter. So we're going to keep that holy holiday sanctimonious, or say the sanctity of that holiday still sacred. And, Texas has too many Mexicans in it. They won't come out and do anything. They're all going to be on Easter in their Dickie shorts and finest button-up Dickie flannels. And but it's at 4:20 p.m. at 419 at Upstage Comedy Lounge in San Antonio, Texas. You can get your tickets at deececomedy.com. And also lots of conventions coming up for Kill Stan. The comic book #1 is still available. We've got multiple variants, and #2 is coming out in about a week. As you listen to this, we'll be shipping books out to people who supported the Kickstarter. We'll be re-upping our retailers, and we will be at many, many conventions across the country over the next few months. And I think the biggest thing we're doing is we're doing a big event at Dragon's Lair Alamo Ranch in San Antonio, Texas on May 3rd for free comic book day. So that's a huge day, as you know. Hundreds of people, hundreds of thousands of people across the country pour into comic book shops. And we'll be doing a signing at Dragon's Lair and Alamo Ranch. So that's going to be a cool day. We've got some really cool raffle stuff. We're giving away CGC signed copies of Kill Stand #1, limited edition covers, merchandise, and all kinds of cool stuff. So go to inferno.earth to follow all that, or deece.comedy on Instagram, and get all that information, guys. But that's enough of all that for today. We are going to continue the show, get into it with our guest. You've probably heard me on his show a couple times, but he's here tonight. He is the host of the T&F Podcast. New episodes every Sunday at 5 p.m. and some Wednesdays at 8 p.m. Please welcome J. Curtis Strickland. What's up, buddy? How you doing, man?
You know, I thought you were going to plug your show as also being on OnlyFans, too, but I just wanted to give the opportunity to say that I'm on OnlyFans. I watch Connie Perignon videos, and I jerk off into gym socks. $20 a pop, $30 for 2 pops. Get it while it's hot.
That's a hell of a deal, man.
Hell yeah, man.
Use the money not to. What color socks? Do you go white so it blends in, or do you like interracial and use black socks?
Black socks all day long.
Yeah, all about the black socks. You know, with that gold toe, that's the good stuff.
The gold toes, man. I think I'm wearing some of them now, actually.
I had to explain that to someone the other day. I'm like, yeah, those gold toe socks, that was the good stuff. Like, I have no idea what you're talking about.
You can purchase some of those. You can get like $100 per pair. They're like these really special gold toe socks, and they don't like ever wear out, and they have like a lifetime guarantee. So I guess if you want to invest the extra money
into lifetime
why not?
Socks. Yeah.
You
know, I feel like I want to, my trajectory in life is working towards a lifestyle where I never have to wear socks. You know, like I'm always just on a beach in flip-flops or barefoot. So I don't, if I invest in socks that I'm gonna have to wear forever, then I feel like I'm gonna have to get my money's worth. And then, that's just not the life I'm trying to lead.
That's a realistic goal, or it could be like no shoes, Bruce Willis, Die Hard style, walking around on broken glass type thing. You never know.
Yeah. That too. I'll go for the monk, the whole Buddhist monk thing. Mostly just because I want to set myself on fire at some point. Goddamn, it's crazy out there. So, man, remind me, you're in the East Coast. Where are you again?
Yeah, East Coast, slightly north of North Carolina, slightly north of North Carolina. In North Carolina, slightly north of Charlotte. Started the show out in L.A., where I was, like we had mentioned, battling Asian store clerks out there, and I just got tired of that, and got tired of dealing with my ex-wife Barbara Hershey, and I was like, I got to get out of here. I'm done with this shit.
So North Carolina, why North Carolina?
Man, I grew up here for since 1997, and I just have always called it home, and I spent some time out in LA, and I just felt like I wanted to come back and make nothing of myself.
Well, if you make nothing of yourself, you're still in like the top 10 percentile in North Carolina, I feel like.
Yeah.
All you have to do is like have most of your teeth, and you are in like not, only one baby daddy, and you are successful.
I just got a tooth pulled here, actually, so I'm not in good shape here.
All right. Well, maybe you slipped in the 11th percentile. I don't know why I'm talking so much shit about North Carolina. It's been nothing but pleasant every time I've been there.
It's well deserved for some of it. No, North Carolina's all right. It's a very eclectic state. There's a lot going on here. Where did you go in North Carolina?
Oh, I've been all over North Carolina. Asheville, Huntersville, Charlotte, Raleigh. I've performed all over North Carolina. I've done, and in South Carolina too, like Spartansburg. That's South Carolina, right?
Oh yeah, Spartanburg. Did you ever go to Gastonia?
I don't think so.
Oh, you're better off.
Yeah. I gotta say though, I'm not a big fan of the colonies, as I call them, but that North Carolina is fine. Like I like it well enough. I will say, Charlotte, not a huge fan. I don't. Charlotte isn't bad, but also there was nothing that like stood out to me about it.
Yeah, I mean, it's got some really interesting aspects to it. I mean, there's a lot to do there. We're historically known for Ray Caruth performing a hit on his then girlfriend.
Yeah.
The mayor, what the hell was his name? Oh, I don't remember. He went to jail. So a lot of good stuff going on.
Okay, yeah, guy, murder and
embezzlement.
Mayor's going to jail.
Yeah.
So great. Well, I feel like, in any state now, that's just, what are you going to do? There's going to be murder and fraud.
Yeah, I guess another reason I'm glad I escaped Southern California.
Well, now the state as a whole is doing so well that the governor's taking time off to do a podcast.
I know, man. Yeah. It's incredible.
He's like, no, we're doing fine. We're good. We have rolling brownouts in a state where we don't prosecute crimes under $950. We have rampant homelessness, and we're about to fall into the ocean, and all of LA just burned up. So yeah, how about I just talk to Charlie Kirk for an hour this week? See what that guy's up to.
Bang up job, Gavin. Bang up job. Yeah. You're doing great. Failing upwards. Love it.
What's really funny to me is like, this is, I am not, people are very aware. I'm very libertarian, and I don't, I hate Republicans and Democrats more and more every day. I found out, it turns out I hate both sides so much every day, so much more. And mostly it's the hypocrisy, which really, really is astounding to me. And I have heard no one complaining about how dangerous it is that Gavin Newsom is platforming someone as hateful as Charlie Kirk. 3 years ago, that guy his podcast would have been pulled off YouTube for doing such a thing. And now there are people like, oh yeah, that guy, he's just talking to that guy.
I mean, he's just a, Nazi white supremacist. That's what he's falling in league with now, So, I mean, I'm pretty sure they're going to disavow him soon. He's not going to have any aspirations, any hopes at the 2028 election just because he's a jackboot now,
Yeah, look at him just going along the system. It's such a sign of the times that it just shows that like legacy media is so fucking dead, just absolutely, and just dead and buried. Put a fucking it's over. It's over because these guys, when you have Gavin Newsom starting a podcast and being like, I'm bringing on Charlie Kirk, you're like, you fucking bought in. You've just realized that, hey, the tide has turned. This uber woke agenda you've been rolling with, people are like, nah, we good. We're done with that. Like,
well, I mean, at least he's trying to course correct, but I think it's completely selfishly motivated. I think had the tides not turned the way that they did, that none of these jerk-offs would have been even attempting to do a 180, like your Cenk Uygurs and your, I think Anna Kasparian's was a little bit more like of a natural progression, because if you watch like the older episodes of Young Turks, she's actually kind of calling out the bullshit, which Anna, call me. But, like everything else just seems so disingenuous, especially from somebody like Gavin Newsom, who can't take accountability for his own actions. He's just completely disingenuous. Just,
oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I
mean, dude, I'm doing OnlyFans. If you want to come in and we need to run a train on somebody, like, just hit me up, man. Hit me up. I'll give you some work.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing. Is like, it's so clearly disingenuous, and it's just like survival mode of like, how do I just get more people to like me? It's pathetic, but I mean, and again, I guys, don't at me. I don't give a shit, first of all. But second of all, like, I understand it's so blatant on both sides. The Republicans do it too, of just this pandering of like, how do I make sure I get votes again?
Right.
And like I said, a couple years ago, probably as early as like 18 months ago, if you had Charlie Kirk on your show, you're platforming an alt-right Nazi, hateful alt. But now, this guy who was, as you mentioned earlier, I mean, arguably the front runner for the next presidential election for the Democrats. And look at it now. And people be like, oh, well, he just wants to have a reasonable discourse with the other side. You're like, yeah, where was that fucking a year ago, 6 months ago? Where's that right now with other people,
Exactly. So. You might want to take that cyanide now, Gavin, because they're coming for you.
Yeah.
They're coming for you, man. Flee to South America. Do something. Hide in an SS private officer's uniform. Just it's done for you, man. You're done.
Yeah. I think it's over for that guy, which is great because I think he's a fucking moron.
Yeah.
I had a
Bass too.
Yeah. That's. I mean, that whole. I've been yelling about Gavin Newsom since he was the lieutenant governor in California when I lived there at the time. And I'm like, this guy, I'd listen to him be interviewed. I mean, one time they were talking about traffic and what to do in traffic in California. He goes, well, you see, you're not in traffic, you are traffic. And I'm like, that's fucking great, but that doesn't do anything to fix the traffic problem, Gavin.
Victim blaming. Oh, yeah.
Okay. Well, yeah, it's wild times out there. So
yeah, unbelievable.
North Carolina's that's an interest, because like politically that's got to be an interesting place, right?
It's kind of weird because we've got a Democrat governor, not Roy Cooper. Roy Cooper was the previous governor. I think it's Josh Stein, because Mark Robinson ran against him and said that you shouldn't go out dressed like a slut. So he lost. And
I
think it's
pro slut. Who's this guy? Who's this fucking loser being like, don't be a slut? Be like, hey, hold on. I like your tax cuts, but
Yeah. I mean, I was extremely disappointed, because I'm definitely on that team too, it's weird because it's like blue in some pockets, like, much like the bigger states, like blue in the bigger cities and red all around, but more predominantly red. It's just weird because, like, 20 years ago, you probably wouldn't have seen very much blue at all. Like it's very, very traditional in some spots. There's a lot of blue collar stuff, but now we've got a lot of transplants from up north and from California, and so the landscape has shifted a little bit.
And I think that's I don't think the people who live there have shifted that much. It's the people who move there that change it a little.
Yeah, definitely, man. It's they need to get out. I'm done. I'm done with them. I want my low taxes and slutty looking women. Get out.
Yeah, come on, man. That's what would have been moved back to North Carolina for buttoned up ladies, for Mormons, and fucking wow. How long were you out in California for?
I was out there for 6 years. I went out there for 5, and then I came back during COVID, and I went back there for a year, and then I came back. I didn't have the best go round of it the second time around, and it was it almost killed me, so to speak. So I just decided to come back here and just kind of focus on what I was doing, with the podcast. And I've got a merchandising company, and just been really getting my nose to the grindstone and doing a whole lot of projects, like directing music videos, started an audiobook narration, just been very, 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 very busy.
Nice. Yeah. I mean, and that's, the nice thing is you can do that from a place that's a lot cheaper than California. All that stuff can be done anywhere.
You'd be surprised though, man. The rent here is actually almost comparable to California prices in certain spots, especially when they put up new developments around here. Like it's
Hmm.
crazy, man. Like looking for a one bedroom between 1,800 to 2 grand for some. And this isn't my town. This is like a suburb of Charlotte. It's not
Yeah.
Charlotte proper, but it's just crazy because it's like, you go to kind of escape that high cost of living and then you're just caught back in it again with just uglier people
Yeah.
around you all the time, you
Yeah.
know?
Worse food. Yeah, I mean, say what you will about immigration, but you need the Browns to get some good cuisine.
And
Yeah,
chicas too.
yeah. It's like, come on, what are you gonna enjoy your mayonnaise sandwiches and yeah.
Fried bologna sandwich with mayonnaise and tomatoes.
Yeah, it's not the same.
Nah,
Um,
man.
oh
It's not chiles poblanos, man.
no, man.
Enough
That's
of that.
why I'll tell you. After, I mean, I grew up in LA, then lived in Washington for a while, and then moving to Texas, where we got plenty of my ilk. Oh boy, the food real good
Oh
everywhere.
no, yeah, no doubt, no doubt. And like, how do you feel about Texas politically? Because I know that the landscape over there has kind of shifted over time.
Yeah, I mean, I had a friend in Washington that we used to be really good friends, and we're just kind of like we were. We didn't hang out as much. We were still friends when we see each other occasionally, but like she got married and stuff. So, but she hit me up after I moved here for about a year. And she's like, so how's Texas? We're thinking about moving and we were looking at Texas. And I'm like, I love it. I go, I've never been happier. Best move I ever made. People are great. Everything's great. And she goes, well, what about politically? Is it like really, is a bunch of like crazy Republicans, right-wing Republicans? I'm like, everyone's pretty normal. And the good news is there's not also a bunch of crazy left-wing people like in Washington. Like I'm not like, I don't want to deal with either one of those. And I feel like,
Right.
like, don't get me wrong, there's pretty red people here, but also
Sure.
I feel like everyone's not, it's not the first thing they want to talk about. And it's not like this big overhanging everything. The bigger cities, again, bigger cities like I think really only Austin actually is probably the more blue city, maybe a little in Houston. San Antonio's fairly conservative. I mean, it's like, well, I mean, half the people in San Antonio are illegal, so they did, who knows. But
Deece, how do you feel that you're going to be deported one of these days? You being an American citizen with brown skin, how do you feel that Trump and all of, ICE and Tom Homan are going to break down your door and actually deport you? You being a legal citizen, how do you feel about that?
Here's my plan. I'm just going to tell them, if they're taking me, I'm going to be like, yes, I am illegal, but here's the deal. I'm not Mexican. I'm actually from Belize. So at least they take me somewhere fucking cool, right? Like a free flight to Belize. I'm like, all right, I can figure it out from here, okay? The U.S. dollar is their main currency. English is their main language. I speak enough Spanish. I'll be fine. So.
Isn't it like that in Costa Rica too? Isn't there a big like American expat community down there?
Oh yeah. Costa Rica's. I go to Costa Rica a lot. It's fantastic for that. The nice thing about Belize is they actually, so English is their main language. Everywhere except the U.S. dollar, and it's exact 2-to-1 ratio for the U.S. So it's like super easy to do the math, right? Whereas in Costa Rica, the colon, which is their currency, it's like 83 cents to the dollar or something like that. So and I'm just a Mexican with a GED. So, I don't know the fucking math. And then they hand you coins that you don't know the worth of. And you're like, I guess this is right. Like I'm trusting you. So
I was in Poland one time and I wasn't familiar with their currency, and I was at some music festival, and they said, I can't remember what it was that I bought, but they said that it was 10 zlotys, but I gave him like a 10-cent piece zloty, and
Yeah.
everybody laughed at me, and the dude just shook his head, and I was like, wait, is that not enough? And he just said, nah,
No.
it's fine, man. And he just gave it to me, and I was like, oh, I said, because
Okay.
I can give you more money. I was like, I'm a dumb American. I don't have a GED, but
Yeah.
I barely out of high school, so. But that's the thing about, I was listening to your other episode with the girl from the Netherlands,
Oh yeah.
and it's interesting, our education system, because we don't really teach about world geography or other cultures or anything. I mean, there's a
No.
very surface level emphasis on it, but when kids from Europe, like I studied at the Stella Adler Academy in Los Angeles, and there's a bunch of international students there,
Hmm.
and they would always remark, how do you Americans not know any other languages besides English, or just have kind of a very elementary understanding of them? And I'm like, well, look at it this way. I said, we're a big country. We've got a bunch of states here. I said, you guys are like almost like a big country as well, but like each state speaks a different language. And it's like, if you're in Germany, you can drive a few hours and be in France. So naturally, you're probably going to have to learn some French, and it's in their education system anyway.
Yeah.
So it's like, we just don't have that. We don't have that level of emphasis on education. That's why I think them axing the Department of Education is, clearly the right choice.
Yeah, go for it. What do I, what it didn't do us any good. But no, it's like, yeah, I mean, that's a good point, but also it's like, yeah, I don't know. Have you ever tried to speak to someone from Louisiana? That's a different fucking language. Okay, like we got talk to someone from Kentucky. I don't know what the fuck that guy is saying. We're trying to deal with 18 different dialects of English in this place.
Them the gators up on the trees.
So, yeah, plus all the Spanish. So no, but it is in other countries though, they almost always know 2 to 4 languages. Like it's crazy. But I mean, that is a byproduct of our education system or lack of education system, where it's really not meant to create like flourishing, critical thinking adults who can move through the world. They're trying to create just cogs in a wheel that can take an order at McDonald's and fucking smoke a pack of Cools and fucking make sure they play dumb enough to play the lotto every fucking week.
What do you think the solution is then? Do you think do you think we should send kids to like private schools or Waldorf schools?
Well, I think kids are the problem to begin with. We should just eliminate kids, and instantly this world gets so much better.
Mandatory castrations.
Yeah,
mandatory tube tying.
I do have a idea, which I've said this playfully, but I mean it more than people realize. I think that what we should do is we should put a sterilization agent in the municipal water system, right? And then when someone wants to have a kid, they fill out an application, tell us why they want to have a kid, how they're going to take care of the kid. We look at, it's like a credit. We look at their debt to income ratio. We look at their mental health history. We look at their job history, their cost housing, how they're going to pay for this kid. And, it's an algorithm. When we send it to the underwriters and they take a look at it. And if they hit enough of the point, we're like, all right, yeah, you can have a kid. And then we give them the antidote, and then they can make a kid, because people are always like, hey, I want a kid. It's my right to have a kid. I'm like, yeah, fucking okay. But I don't want to have to pay for your shitty kid, Like, know what I want? I want a Lexus, right? Like, you want to help me pay for my Lexus? Like I can guarantee you in 14 years, my Lexus isn't going to grow up, develop a meth habit and break into your apartment and steal your PlayStation 3, like just going to be gas efficient with a good resale value,
Like Chris Rock says, go read to them kids before they rob me in 10 years.
Yeah, man. Like So I think we should just stop having kids, like a good 10 years. Like if we just put just stop having kids for like 10 years. Think how much, be great. If you don't have to hear a kid cry on an airplane for 10 years.
I think everybody that took the COVID vaccines already kind of took care of that problem, though. No.
Yeah. That or I'm just gonna have some weird autistic kid with some strange genes. Every one of their kids is gonna be allergic to the sun. Just these like fucking albino hemophiliacs. They're looking like fucking Quato from Total Recall. Yeah, it's just some weird fucking.
They're gonna go out to the forest and get stung by bees like Macaulay Culkin and My Girl, just fucking drop dead instantly.
Yeah, so like, dude, yeah. Oh man, your kids are allergic to the sun. I think they're actively trying. Nature's actively trying to kill them. It's time to put them down. This is Sparta. They're going down the hill. We don't need them. You're diluting the gene pool. People, trust the science. That's what you told us when you wanted us to take the vaccine. Trust the science. Science says that the good genes should live on. So,
with abortion, I always bring this one up. Let's just talk about a happier subject.
Good first date topic.
Yeah, absolutely. I've always made this analogy because it's like, all right, if you think that you should have abortions at any trimester or anything like that. Well, what's the difference if you birth the kid and just instantly after the kid came out of the womb,
right?
You just took like a Desert Eagle to the kid's head and just went crack.
Yeah. Okay. Here's what I'm going to take this a step further. Okay. Put them on eBay. eBay Bay. We'll call it eBay Bay. And you can bid on the kid, and then it's just you get to do what you want with that kid. You didn't want it anyway. Why? It's a organ donation program.
eBay Bay's kids.
Yeah, eBay Bay. This is a good idea. I like this.
I love it.
I want to talk to that guy. What's his name? Rich. What was the guy's name from the Silk Road? The guy that just got out of jail. Let's talk to him.
Rich Little.
Was that his name? I don't remember.
No, that was the impersonator back from like the 70s and 80s.
Oh, yeah. But yeah, that's a good point because it's one of those things where because I'm not super. It's one of those things like abortion's weird to me because I'm not against it necessarily because like I've never had to do it. If I got a girl pregnant, I don't think I would want them to. But like again, I can't really control it. But also, sure. I'm not for it because it's at what point do we decide that is killing a baby? Right. It's and people are like, oh, it's just a clump of cells. I'm like, yeah. Kind of, but also like we don't know when are you telling me that it is actually a life? Like I looked it up one time and it's something like less than 10% of babies don't make it to full term, right? In America. So it's a very small, it's a very small, I think it's even less than that actually. It might be like 3%. It's a small number of babies that don't make it to full term when a mom's like trying to have them actively, you know what I'm saying?
Right. 10% though, that seems pretty high.
It's small. No, it's very small. That is too high. It's fucking like it was like 0.1%. It's super small. It's a very small number. Because I remember thinking that's crazy. That it's a very small percentage. And they so I'm like, okay, so out of all, meaning every abortion is like a 97, we'll say 3%, 97% chance of making it full term. So like it's a 97% chance that it was going to be a full ass person, I don't know when, maybe immediately, maybe at 4 weeks, maybe at 4 months. I don't know. But like, that's a fucking crazy call to make when we don't know.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm on the fence about it. I've never been in that scenario before. I was told I was in that scenario, but I think it was just to keep me roped in,
Yeah.
to kind of one of those tests that they love to do,
Yeah. Yeah.
But I because it is one of those things where it's like, yeah, you do introduce the kid into the society, and then what? They don't have a father, or they have a father that's incarcerated,
Yeah.
or something like that, and they're not going to be, or they're going to be less likely to be members that are contribute to our society. They're very they're at a very, like, what I'm saying, like a very like disadvantaged position,
True.
and then, not to mention incentivizing single motherhood and all this other stuff. But yeah, at the same time, just giving free abortions just incentivizes, irresponsibility, and, it kind of diminishes the, the whole sacredness of sex,
Yeah.
because I think that, like, like radical feminism and all this other stuff has just made it so that, sex is just like another normal body function. It's not like you know a spiritual thing, or like a godly thing for the consummation of a child. It's
Yeah.
very like, like picking your nose,
Yeah.
or like,
Yeah.
like something like that.
Well, especially today, it's gotten very crazy. I mean, these kids out there, I mean, they're just not. You can't hide anything from them now, and now it's just so normalized, and with the internet, and then also, like, I guess the way, they kids are getting pregnant younger, and like the shit they're doing is like, I mean, they're doing fucking like anal in 8th grade because it's like they just see it online, and they're like, oh, I
Those
guess we do.
lucky bastards.
Yeah, I know. uh fucking, I just like, yeah. But well, yeah, you
We're
won't
not
get
going to get
pregnant
flagged for that one, are we?
that way. Just talking about hypothetical minors having anal sex. I think that's fine.
What I was saying is, I wish I'd been so blessed to have been in their position at that age.
Yeah,
For
yeah.
clarification purposes, yes.
The not you want it. Yeah, I got it. Okay. Which I got it. Not to derail this because it's an interesting conversation, but I have a um, hypothetical ethical thought experiment question for you. Okay.
Okay.
So I don't know what do you feel comfortable revealing what age you were when you lost your virginity?
Yeah. I was 18 years old.
You were
And
18.
okay, so there's actually a funny story involved to this if you want to hear it.
Okay, sure. Yeah, yeah.
Okay. All right. So when I was in the military, I was overseas, and I was trying to be a good kid, and I was trying to save sex until marriage. And then 9/11 happened. And I was in the military at the time, and there was a Japanese hooker. And
Yeah.
I said, I might die someday, and I don't want to die a virgin.
That's a good call, actually. That's a good call.
And yeah, and I said, you know what? This is well worth the $50. I'm just gonna, or however many yen that it was, and I said, boom.
You probably were able to take her home if you wanted to. And put her in
I'll tell you what I did take home: some terrible crotch rot. And it was funny because I actually had to go to my platoon sergeant and say, I have to go to the corpsman. And he said, what for? And I didn't want to tell him. And he was like, well, what do you got to go for? And he was just really pressing me on it. And I told him, I was like, the left side of my leg is like completely red and got like circular like marks on it and swelling and stuff. And he goes, damn, boy. It's like, what you been sticking your dick into? And I was like, come
He's
to
like,
find out.
Soon Yi got you too, huh?
She was
yeah,
she was
we
a
call that
popular
the
one,
Tokyo tattoo.
Well, come to find out, it was just my gym shorts were too tight. Thank God. So,
Wow.
yeah, Okinawa is also a very sweaty place. Like if you've ever been to that region of the world, very tropical. Yeah, very sweaty, very you can step outside and just be instantly drenched. Like
Yeah.
it's crazy. Yeah. But 18, do I regret it?
Nah, come
I
on.
don't know.
You got it. Yeah, you thought you could have died, Plus, whatever. That's a little.
Well, I mean, she wasn't like Lucy Liu. Like she wasn't like anything like
Well,
that.
she
So it
was
wasn't.
Lucy. She was Lucy Liu. That's for sure.
Well, with about a 12 pack in you, you can imagine. Like.
Listen, I'm sure I've done a lot worse. Real sober too.
Yeah, but I definitely upgraded my my Asian horror game as I got in much older.
That like broke open the ceiling, like let's get them all, collect them all. It's like Pokemon.
Well, the funny thing was, I had no desire to until a few years later, because I had such a horrible experience, and I was just like, you know what, like I swore off Asian girls for a long time, and then I was like, as I was uploading my OnlyFans videos, I was doing some perusing, and I encountered this really really hot Asian chick, and I hit her up, and now I got bragging rights. So
hey, there you go. All right.
Yeah.
So yeah, it all turned out good. It turns out it's like that's like the Asian girl was like your long lost daughter from this Japanese girl. She's like, where are you from? She's like, oh, Okinawa. My mother was a whore. Yeah.
I'm Ming-Na Strickland.
Yeah. You're like, oh.
I don't even want to think about that, because that could be a thing.
Yeah, because you never know.
Different type of OnlyFans content right there.
Right.
Different demographic, different audience. Yeah.
Yeah. Was she stuck in the washer when you met her? Yeah. So the ethical question I have to ask, it may not apply to you then, because you were of age and consent.
Yes.
I always think about people who have who have sex before they're, when they're minors, and they're very likely, unless they're, high school boys in Florida now who are banging their teachers. They're more than likely they are having sex with other minors, right? Which is now a memory they have. That's a thing that's in their head, that experience. And I've thought about those experiences, and then I'm like, oh my God, am I like, as an adult, I'm not thinking about like to pleasure but you're also like, oh, this is weird of me. I'm thinking about these people like a minor right now. Do you know what I'm saying?
You talking about with the teachers and stuff?
No. Like when I'm like, if I think of my experiences that I had with other girls when we were like 15, right?
What was if you don't mind me asking, what was your age?
I was 14.
Oh, baller.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I think dysfunctional household would be more of a.
When I was 14, I was stuck in playing X-Wing on PC and Duke Nukem and stuff. I had no game, man. So respect.
Yeah,
14.
Yeah,
Wow.
I was winging my buddy's ex is what I was doing at 14. Yeah, we was fucking. I was getting down that blast hole of the Death Star. That's for sure. Yeah.
Almost there.
Yeah, I'm going to use the force. And
it's away.
So it
Negative.
only took me one try,
in.
That's for sure.
Just impacted on the surface.
Yeah, listen, I counted it. I counted it as a hit. But when I think about it, like you have memories and you think about that memory, but I'm also thinking about like a 15-year-old girl,
right?
Like, and it's such a weird thing of like, oh man, like, but it's trapped in my head, and like I'm like I experienced it, but also,
sure.
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but I mean, not like any law was broken, was it?
No. Well, I don't know what the bestiality laws were in that state we were in.
Okay. So do you think it like damaged you psychologically, like further on? Do you feel like it has inhibited your ability, like to have, do you feel like it inhibited your ability to have relationships in the future?
Oh, well, if I don't, this story of what happened is, I'm not sure one I want to tell on this on the air, because it was
Okay.
yeah, it 100%.
Okay.
100%, like for forever, not, altered in a bad way. Just give my prism of the way I looked at things definitely
Sure.
was fucked up for a long time because of it.
And I'll agree with you there, because like as my first experience was transactional, it almost subsequently became transactional after that point, you
Yeah.
know. But then it, like, when you want the quality to be better, when you want somebody that's not a meth addict and has all their teeth, you have to up the financial game a little bit, and that's where it became increasingly more and more difficult, you
Yeah.
know. So and yeah, it does, because it I feel like it definitely kind of cheapens it. And you know, I wish I just stayed in church. I wish I just stayed in church, man, and just like
No,
been a
because then
good
a
kid. And
priest would have been your first one.
well, that's
You
a
don't
story for another day, you know.
you
So
don't you don't want that.
yeah, exactly.
So well, you made it to 18. You were fine, at that point.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
you aged out.
Well, okay, if you want to talk about, 17, there was a Myrtle Beach incident, but it didn't go beyond certain activities. But I don't. That doesn't count, does it?
I don't know. It's still close enough. It's good.
Yeah,
Myrtle
yeah.
Beach is romantic, right? Uh, something like that.
Yeah.
So let's here. We'll switch gears here, because this is I'm going to get kicked off this network before I even.
I was going to say, I'm not losing your sponsors, am I?
I don't know if they realized what they were getting into. I mean, I've been on their shows, but I also am usually like talking about my comic book or like promote. Not.
Well, dude, I wanted to like congratulate you on the comic book for making your Kickstarter, and I do want to congratulate you for picking up this network. Let's hope you stay with it. Let's hope the sponsors approve. Let's hope they're not like Bible.com, or something like that. Yeah.
Well, knowing the guy who runs the network, I know, he won't care. But yeah, sponsors, like bigger things are coming, and I'm like, I don't know, man. I hope you vet. I hope you know what you're getting into, because we say some wild shit. The good news is, I said it was years ago. One of my best friends, another comedian, she was our news anchor on the show also for a long time, and I said something about. I made some joke about how like I'm not pro-abortion. I'm just really into stem cell research. And she's like, and I'm like, and instantly I was like, oh man, that's terrible. That's the worst thing I've ever said. And without a beat, she's like, absolutely not. She's like, not even close to the worst thing you've ever said on this show. And I'm like, not even close, not even top 10. She's like, fuck no. Like, oh man, I got to go back and listen to this show, because apparently I've been out of pocket a lot of times.
Have you ever known anybody that has lost any sort of sponsorship or been booted for that? I mean, I know like Anthony Cumia back in the day, had some controversial remarks that he said, but anybody personally that, has experienced that because of off the cuff remarks that they made?
Well, I've had not my whole show, but I've had episodes pulled from. I used to be on this network that was out of Chicago, and they syndicated the show for years. And there was episodes that they pulled and didn't air, because they're like, we can't. It was like a digital radio station, but there still were like. I also got kicked off. I used to do spots at this local radio station in Washington where I lived a lot. And then one time my opener, another comedian, and I took him with me to do this radio spot, because they'd have us come on and talk about shows coming up and just kind of like BS and, zhuzh it up, make it fun. But we went to this brewery that was downstairs beforehand, just got
God
annihilated. Because it was like 3 p.m, and so we're like day drunk, and we were drinking like heavy porters, like got fucking annihilated to the point where like they had to start censoring us on the air, and then finally had to cut the thing short, and they stopped inviting us on.
Beep,
Yeah,
beep, beep. Finger starts getting tired.
Yeah. So, and then they stopped asking me to come on the show. I'm like, yeah,
Oh,
what are you gonna
they're
do?
gonna call you into the back office. Deece, you got some explaining to do.
Yeah, but again, really, their fault. They know, they've seen me do comedy. I'm like, this is what do you think was going to happen? I was going to come
They
in here
should kind
and
of know what they're
behave.
getting into. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But the comic book. Yeah. The
Yeah.
comic book. I'm commending you, man, because like I know that you worked really hard on the previous issue and that it's doing really well for you. And I'm really glad to see that you made the Kickstarter goal for your next one. And I'm seeing good things on the horizon, man. Like I said on my show, you inspired me to do my own comic book. I actually had somebody approach me
Nice.
about commissioning my artist to do a comic book for them. So things are taking off, man. It's becoming a beautiful, fully realized dream, and I'm loving it.
That's great, man. I love hearing that because the comic book medium is, and we've talked about this a ton on your show. There's just a beautiful thing to me. I think it's it is not one of the, I think it is the most underappreciated art form. And it's sad that it is because some of the best stories have been told in comic book form that are really, really really would blow your mind if you read them. So, I'm thinking about, I shouldn't say this because someone's going to steal this idea. But I'm trying to start a podcast with my mom who knows nothing about comic books, is probably kind of scoffs at the medium a little. And I want to have her and I both read the same book, and then review it together, and like me talk about it with her and get her point of view of these stories that are a little bit more in depth and a little more, more solid than just the typical, Batman, Superman type stuff.
Sure. What would you introduce her to?
That's my hang up, is because my instinct is I want to do something like more traditional. Like I'd love to do a walkthrough of X-Men with her, or something like that, something we could do a lot of, but things like that have been done a million times. There's a million X-Men podcasts out there, so I think I'd have to just pick things. We do like seasons of, like, we're going to do Brian Michael Bendis's run on Daredevil, which is 60 issues. And we'll read that. And then we'll talk about, do like an episode a week and talk about 1 or 2 issues each week, and that type of thing.
Are you a fan of Moon Knight?
The character is cool in general. He's had great runs. He's had bad ones, it just depends on who's writing him too.
I have a buddy that's into Moon Knight, and I think he may be the only person. Because he was
Really?
always talking about Moon Knight, and was always, I swear, I was like, I think you're the only person I know that actually appreciates this character. And I talked to him the other day on the phone, and I don't even know why Moon Knight came up, but his real affinity for that character, and I told him that, and he was like, yeah, I think you're right.
There's not a huge fan base out there. They're out there. I think he was, how old's your buddy?
He's like 45.
Okay.
Yeah.
That tracks then, because I'm 42, and Moon Knight was like in the late 80s and early 90s. Moon Knight was a little bit of, it's still a B tier character, but kind of out there a lot. He was a member of the West Coast Avengers, which was a series that ran for a long time. He had his own book, and was kind of like early 90s, was still a cool character in like the anti-hero vigilante phase of comic books, and then faded away in like the mid 90s till probably, I don't know, 2007, 2005, something like that. For about 10 decade was kind of mainly gone. But since then, since about 2005 or so, has pretty consistently had some sort of series running, and some good stuff. I would say some really good stuff, that some really, really talented writers have done some cool things, because he's got a like multiple personality disorder. So it's kind of a psychosis to him. And some writers have done some really interesting things with how that works internally and how that works externally, being someone who's trying to be a hero and maybe not all right in the head.
Well, no wonder my buddy connects with this character so much.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm glad you're doing your book, man. Like we talked about, I think it's everyone should go for it if they want to. And it's been great getting mine out there, and starting on number 3 now. I mean, it's written. We're just getting the art done now. So
Yeah. What do you kind of think about the current state of comic book movies? Like, I don't remember if we talked about this on my show, but do you foresee them kind of, because I don't know if you watch any of those like political, I don't want to say political, but they're kind of more like right-leaning, like Critical Drinker and like Nerdrotic and stuff like that, to where they completely eviscerate the whole current state of MCU and DC and Disney, and like what are your thoughts on that? Like, how do you feel about it?
Well, I mean, first off, I would say places like that are like just so clickbaity, where they have to be like edgy and take this hard stance of we hate it to get views. I think a lot of it's like really just like kind of just flaming things, because that's what the internet loves, to see people beat up on shit. So, it's kind of like cheap content, I think. But having said that, they're probably not all wrong either. But I don't think there's a couple things. Like, we're lucky we got some really good, and some actually like meaningful comic book movies. They did some good stuff with them. I just wanted comic book movies. So there's some, I can shut, like, we might have talked about this on your show. Like, I watched Madam Web in the theater, and I was just like, this is fine. It's not good. Like, I'm not going to tell anyone this is a good movie, but I was kept awake and entertained for 2 hours. It was just kind of like, it was just happening, and it was fun, and like, that's fine. But it's Marvel specifically is in a position where they are trying to make these movies matter, and they are also trying to do that by making them a generic movie that's palatable to everyone. They want it to be like brown sugar oatmeal. Everyone's gonna love this. Everyone. It can't be too yummy, but it can't be too dry. So every movie is just like shot right down the middle, instead of having any real unique point of view or hard take or hard angle of like a style of movie. I think that's why something like Logan or even Deadpool excelled so much.
I was about to ask you that. Yeah.
Because they took, Fox, not Marvel, took the chance and made R-rated superhero films, and they fucking worked. Because, I mean, the reality is comic book fans are our age. Younger fans are reading manga. They're not reading Wolverine. They're just, I mean, some, yes, but not a lot. So Fox realized like, oh, we can do this. And then Disney kind of just, because they're soulless fucking Anunnaki people live in the center of the earth, want to print money however they can. They have no actual backbone. They don't actually care about any morals or ethics. They're like, oh, well, that makes money, so we will do that too, even though we said we would never do that. So, but they're still in this rut where they can't really take a big chance on anything. Like, I don't know, did you see the new Captain America movie?
No.
Yeah. I mean, it was, again, fine. I was like entertained, but like, I don't know if I'd ever watch it again.
Right.
Like, okay, I saw it. I know what happened. There's nothing that was like, I need to see that again.
And, again, back to those channels, I like them. I think they're great. I think usually their perspectives on a lot of the comic book movies are generally pretty spot on. But I do feel like you're correct in that they do kind of just want to criticize just for the sake of criticizing and clicks and things like that. Like, you know, me being a Star Wars fan, like, I didn't mind Book of Boba Fett, and I didn't mind Obi-Wan Kenobi. Like, I don't know why those shows were so hated. I was fine with them. I was like,
Yeah.
whatever, you know. Like, again, though, like you said, I probably wouldn't revisit them, but they were fine for what they were. I was like, whatever, you know. Like, I wasn't as critical of them as some of these other guys were.
Yeah, it's the problem with fanboys, and you know, I'm a big Star Wars fan too, so I'm live in that world also. But even more so, comic books is like fanboys are insufferable cunts. You know, they're they're the type of people that would complain about a blowjob and a steak. You know, like they just nothing can make them happy. They're mad if things stay the same, and then they're mad if you change it. You know,
Right.
So there's no way to appease them. So it's like, fuck them. Just let them be mad. Who cares?
Right.
You know, make the best movie you can, whatever that means. And you know, realize not all projects are for everyone. Like a bunch of like all the fanboys online are bitching about the Miss Marvel show. And I'm like, oh, you mean the show about the 13-year-old Muslim girl who's, you know, exploring her basically her race, religion, and sexuality? That didn't speak to you, 45-year-old straight white dude. Like, sorry, not everything's for you, you know, like just fucking, and they're mad. Like, don't be mad about it. Just don't watch it. And that's fine. You don't have to watch it. You know,
I think Brie Larson said that about the whole Wrinkle in Time thing. I think she said those words exactly. She's like, I don't care about the opinion of a 45-year-old white dude. This movie wasn't made for you. But then it's like you know, from a filmmaker's perspective, like you also have to criticize and see, okay, is this film just pandering for the sake of trying to, you know, check some boxes or you know, speak some message, you know, at the sacrifice of you know, right, you know. So that's where I feel like an outsider eye would be kind of keen on that. But yeah, I get what you're saying. Like, I'm not gonna watch Star Trek Discovery because it's not made for me, you know. Like, everybody's like, no, it is, and I'm like, no, it's not. Like, it's for a completely different generation. Those writers were working on Buffy the Vampire Slayer and Vampire Diaries and other things like that before they came to Star Trek. They have no real life experience. You look at the old writers of Star Trek, you had like your Gene Coons, your Dorothy Fontanas, your Harlan Ellisons. Like, these are people that grew up during the Depression, went to or lived through World War II and Korea, and then are starting to make art during the Civil Rights era. It is not the same as somebody that lived through COVID and went to college. It's just not, you know. So
fucking safe spaces and shit like that.
Right.
Yeah, you gotta have some sort of friction, something to push against that really makes the art blossom. I mean, you know, it's like I always say, you know, like astronauts in space, their bones atrophy when they're in space, their bones and muscle, because there's no gravity, there's no pressure on them, right? So, you know, and it's the same thing. It's a great metaphor for just life. You know, if there's no pressure pressing down on you, you really don't grow. And you kind of, I mean, metaphorically crumble. And you don't have any of that experience to draw on or really write a shared connection. And something that's really, gives you that really deep pathos.
But at the same time, you can't really blame them for not having that experience. You know, like you have to understand, like, all right, this is what these staff writers know. This is what they know. But at the same time, I'm not going to be compelled to watch it.
Right.
But there's 5 different Star Trek series that existed before them that are streaming and still available that I can go and rewatch and enjoy, and it's fine. It's fine, you know. I don't need any new content from them. To me, that franchise is dead. to me, Star Wars, with the exception of Andor, I don't know if you watched Andor, but like that franchise just doesn't do it for me anymore. You
Right.
know, like it just doesn't, you know.
Yeah,
Somebody likes it.
Sure. Well, it's one of the crazy things because like I have friends who were like 10 years younger than me, right? And their Star Wars is the prequels. Like,
yes,
and that's crazy to me because those movies are terrible. It's like, I could just imagine George Lucas being like, you know what kids love? Kids love 3 hours of bureaucratic trade conversation. What about the trade embargoes? Don't they love that?
You're the same age. Did you see him in theaters?
Oh yeah, dude. We camped out get tickets for opening night of the Phantom Menace.
You camped out?
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, we just ate acid and threw a frisbee around, drank 40s in the parking lot. It was a fucking I think we just
class to go get tickets.
Yeah.
That was about the extent of it. Yeah. But I remember walking out of it, and it's just like, this cacophony of new characters, new locations, sounds, action for what it was worth. For what it was worth, the action in Phantom Menace was okay, and like, but then I walked out of there, I was like, was that good? We were looking at each other, me and my friends were like, was that good? That was good, right? And we were like,
you're trying to talk yourself into it.
I think it was just one of those, like, you were just bombarded by, all this stuff, and at the same time, it was a new thing. There hadn't been any new Star Wars, at least in a cinematic element, for years.
Yeah, I mean,
and so we were stoked as shit. We were like amped. We were gassed up. Like we just felt so excited to go see new Star Wars content. And I think that kind of, that carried with us when we exited the theater, and I think we were just like, yeah, that was awesome. And then you get home and kind of decompress. You're like, kind of sucked, I think.
You start thinking about it, and then also you're like, well, you try and justify it because again, it's been 17 years since Star Wars had come out. We'd only had the original trilogy our whole lives, and it was always this rumor that there was going to be these movies, that these prequels they were going to do. And when you get 15 years down the line, you're like, this is just never going to happen. George Lucas hasn't made a movie in 12 years, and it's just like this is never going to happen. And then it's happening, and you're like, oh, okay. And then you go see it, and you're like, okay. And you're just trying to process it, and you give it a lot of leeway, but then you go see the second one. And you're like, oof. Okay. And then you're like, oh, maybe this isn't me. This might actually be them.
I'll tell you what, though, somebody, because, the JFK files are in the media landscape right now.
Yeah.
And somebody actually used an analogy from Attack of the Clones. And this was actually brilliant because they said there were so many different players that were involved in the JFK assassination. Like one person tasked this person to take care of it, and then that person delegated that responsibility to a lower tiered person, and then it just kept going and it kept going. And somebody used the analogy of, all right, Palpatine tasked it to Dooku, and then Dooku tasked it to Jango Fett, and then Jango Fett hired another bounty hunter to take out Amidala so that there was plausible deniability. I'm like, that's really brilliant. I never thought of it that way. That's about the only thing I will give that movie, though.
Well, I always think about, so when the promo materials first came out and you saw like Darth Maul, you're like, holy shit. Like, because you're like in your head and thinking, how do you match a villain with the presence and the dynamic look and just power of Darth Vader, right? And then they come out with Darth Maul, and you're like, holy shit, And then he's got 7 minutes of screen time. He says 2 words, and then he gets fucking cut in half. And you're like, Well, and then they replace him with fucking a 6-year-old with a gay lightsaber. Like the lightsaber bends all like, hey, the lightsaber's like fucking lives in West Hollywood and fucking loves Cher. Like, hey, I'm a lightsaber. And fucking
Zoom.
Yeah. And like, it's and you're like, what the fuck? How you just killed the most interesting looking character in this the only person I wanted to live in this thing. And that was just, I think that was just like such an immediate like we should have known then that this was going to just be a disaster.
And with the later episode, like, episode 3, it almost becomes like an obligation. Like you're just like, I guess I gotta,
your body.
I guess I gotta. That's how I felt about Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah.
Like I was like, fuck, I guess, like I've got nothing better to do. And
was that the third one or second one in that trilogy?
Well, I mean, Revenge of the Sith was the third one in the original or in the prequel trilogy, and Rise of Skywalker was episode 9. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah.
We I went and saw it with my friends in Hollywood, and then I was back home for the holidays, and I went, and my sister wanted to go, and I was like, this is gonna be like Alex in Clockwork Orange, like getting his eyes pried open and be like, make it stop, and
yeah, I'll be better.
My sister, she walked out of there, and we said the exact same thing when we went and saw Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull together. We were like, that was horrible.
Yeah.
And then it's now that's it. That whole saga is supposed to be over. I guess they were talking about doing a Rey movie here soon, but I
think they're trying to do a whole trilogy with her, which is like, here's the thing that blew me. Like so I went and saw those movies also because like, I feel like with Star Wars, when you're our age, we like signed up. It's like signing up for Columbia House Records, and I'm on the hook for like every 3 years. I got to pay $12 and watch this fucking movie. Like I'm just on the hook. I gotta, right? Because a part of you is like, maybe this is the one where they come back, But I watched them all. I mean, from the very first one, I was like, I'm out. I hate it. I was like, there's nothing redeemable about these. But then
with Force Awakens,
yeah, dude. Here's the thing. It's not, when I say there's nothing redeemable, like it's a competent, fine movie. The problem is it's the exact same movie as the first movie of the original movie. And I mean, literally like, this roguish pilot puts a plans in a fucking droid that ends up on a sand planet where this fucking orphan meets it and has to find the rebellion to this Death Star, like this thing. You're like, what do you do, guys? Did you do what? It felt like someone was writing a bad Star Wars fanfic,
Yeah,
or
I feel
like,
you there.
Or like a Bollywood version where like they didn't have the rights to Star Wars, so they had to like change the names of everything a little bit. Like, no, we're not the we're not the Empire, we're the New Order, the First Order, or the First Order.
And they put a dance number at the end.
Yeah. So, but I remember, same with you. I went and watched them all because you had to. And by the last one, which was what'd you say? Rise of Skywalker is the last one. I don't even know.
Yeah.
I'm sitting there halfway through the movie and I'm looking at the screen. I'm looking at the characters on screen. And in my head, it hit me. I'm looking at the main characters. And I'm like, I don't even know that fucking person's name. I have you gun to my head. I could not tell you what that person's name is. That's how little they have made me care about this fucking movie. And like subsequently, I went back and rewatched them all because I wanted to watch them and really dig into them. And the thing I noticed, the thing that was funniest to me is at the end of Rise of Skywalker, there's a scene where Rey is fighting the Emperor, right? And there's like all the Force ghosts are talking to her, Luke and Obi-Wan and Anakin and Yoda, and they're like, you are all the Jedi. They're all inside of you. You're the most powerful. This and, and like hyping her up, fucking gassing her up. You go, girl. You got this. You can fuck it. It's all about you, your internal power. You're strong enough. It's inside of you. And she's got her one lightsaber and she just can't do it, but it's inside of her. And then all of a sudden she gets a second lightsaber and then she can do it. I'm like, so was it inside of you, or was it just you were missing a lightsaber? Because you completely demolished the point. What it should have happened is she should have lost that lightsaber to only had, and then had 0 lightsabers and still able to win. Then
done it with her hand or something.
Yeah. Like then you've driven home the point that it is in her. But when she has to get a second lightsaber to win, it really eliminates the self-empowerment part.
Right.
What? And
I never thought of it like that. Yeah.
So, and it was just driving me crazy. I'm just like, this is so you fucking lost the plot on every single part of this movie.
Yeah. And like if they were to do a new trilogy, I probably wouldn't watch it at this point. I've there's some people like you had mentioned with fanboys that, Star Wars, they get the rubber stamp and they will see it. Star Trek, I got to see it, buy new product, and that's just, as I've gotten older and older, because I saw Aliens versus Predator, and I remember the guy at Blockbuster, this is when Blockbuster was still around, he was like, you sure you want to watch this? And I was like, yeah. And he goes,
Aliens, Predator? What do you mean?
He was like, this is really bad. And I was like, I can't believe he would say that to me, like trying to, you could have got a sale there. And I was like, yeah, it's fine. And I just, I could have taken his recommendation, but I didn't, because I loved Aliens so much and I loved Predator. I overlooked the fact that it was a shitty movie. And I'd seen the movie before. I was really high, and I think that's why I enjoyed it. And then, I went to go buy it, and it was like, am I a glutton for punishment because I'm buying this shitty movie, or is it I'm just so attached to these franchises that I can't really, like I had a buddy that watched all of Star Trek Discovery. He watched I got halfway through season 1. I'm like, I'm out. Yeah. And he was still watching it up until the 5th season. I'm like, Tim, this is bad, dude. This is bad. I'm like, why do you torture yourself? And I don't know, man. I don't know, and I'm like, just get outside. Read a book.
Let it go. You go watch the old stuff that's good.
It's so frustrating.
I was that way with Star Wars. If another movie came out, I don't know if I would be as strong. With the shows, I skip the shows now. I did, none of them appeal to me. I skip them. The Marvel stuff, I still have a hard time skipping. Although I'm getting to that point where I'll just that maybe doesn't look like I need to watch that, or I'm watching the new Daredevil right now. That's pretty good. But
is Penguin any good? Everybody keeps telling me Penguin is good. I know that's not Marvel, but
that was very good. Yeah.
Yeah. A buddy of mine who's super into art films was like, you should watch Penguin. And I was like, you're recommending Penguin to me? That's unusual. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of those things. I mean, the nice thing is they really kept it away from anything Batman. So it was it's in a vacuum where it's in Gotham, and they reference the explosion that happens in Dark Knight Rises or whatever the last one was. Or no, wait, not that. There's
Batman.
The Batman, when the explosion in the city floods or whatever. They mention it, but they don't really mention Batman. They don't mention, so you can kind of watch it and it just is like this crime drama. But man, it's really, really well written, and Colin Farrell as the Penguin is really compelling.
That's what I hear.
And just an irredeemable character that you can't keep your eyes off of.
And I wanted to start it, but everybody told me, I was thinking that I needed to go into it seeing the Batman, and I still
No,
haven't seen the Batman. And I'm
no.
not typically the type that will um, go on something based on an audience's criticism. Like
Yeah.
if I can go on IMDb and if something says it's 5.0, if I want to watch it, I'll watch it. I don't
Yeah.
give a shit, you know. Like I don't generally take the advice of internet critics, you know.
Oh, especially
But
critics. Yeah.
I heard that the Batman was really boring.
I
And
hate
from
it.
did you?
Yeah.
What didn't you like about it?
Well, it was very boring, first
It
of all.
was boring.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I mean, I could pick it apart. It would take forever. But I mean, it was just he, the plot of him. So okay, here's a good one. Have you ever seen there's a channel called Pitch Meeting on YouTube?
Yes.
Okay, so that guy does a pitch meeting about the Batman movie, and it kind of sums up everything you need to know about why it's bad. But it is very slow. It's very like physically dark, like you actually
Brooding.
like visually hard to see sometimes.
Oh.
And you know, and this comes from a guy who has no problem watching, Zack Snyder films. This is like Zack Snyder is like fucking Technicolor compared to this movie. So, but yeah, very slow. They try to make it like this detective plot, which was an interesting way to angle, but the detective stuff is like basically the whole detective thing was hinged on Batman not knowing, like misreading a word in remedial Spanish was kind of like what happened. He didn't conjugate the verb properly and misread a verb in something in Spanish. And it's like, he's like, oh, it's this. And you're like, way to go, world's best detective. If I can, no, you're fucking up your basic Spanish, and that took up an hour and a half of the movie because you were going on the wrong lead.
Damn. Okay. Yeah, I heard it was compared to like a noir procedural, which I love noirs, and I love, you talk about dark movies. I love like the fact that noir was influenced by like the, German expressionist films of the 20s,
Mm-hmm.
like that. I love like Shadows. I love like The Third Man. I love like, old, Humphrey Bogart films, things like that. Like that to me would really draw me in. But yeah, I've just heard it doesn't really hit the marks for some people, that it's just kind of languid and brooding and boring. And now apparently it's retarded too.
Yeah.
So
There's some just, again, there's like little things where there's this scene where there's the bad guys are like unloading this money and drugs, and he snuck up on them and parked next to the building in his Batmobile, which the back end of it is a literal fucking jet engine. And you're like, how did you get this thing in there? Like snuck up with a fucking jet engine next to this building and just sat there quietly and no one saw you while they were unloading drugs. Like, and then he starts going and no one's paying. I'm like, it's just little shit like that. Where you're like, I understand I'm watching a Batman movie. You have to suspend disbelief a little bit, but you either got to do cartoonish 60s Batman if you're going to do that kind of dumb shit, or you have to really make it realistic. Right?
Well, I think I would probably, think that he made it look like the Batmobile, like with the jet engine or anything, but it really just had a Cybertruck engine in it.
Yeah,
so there's just no noise.
Yeah, just for effects, it looks badass. Yeah, this thing gets amazing gas mileage.
They got a tax break on the movie because they use Tesla.
It's got an Evo sticker on the side. I
get you though. Like the nitpicky stuff kind of takes you out of the movie.
Yeah, very, very, very much. There was a lot of stuff like that, or like he's always on his motorcycle, just in like, he's got like this little backpack, and you're made to believe that he keeps his whole Batman costume in this backpack, because he'll like go into a building and change and go then be Batman. And you're like, this is like a knapsack. It's not a full backpack even. It's like a little backpack, and his outfit is like big and bulky with like armor. And I'm like, you just couldn't do that. Like that's not physically possible.
Yeah.
No, I don't know.
Little shit. Yeah, I get it. No, I mean, I can only suspend my disbelief so much. And I'm with you on that. Yeah, definitely. But yeah, no, I've been highly considering checking out Penguin. I just thought it hinged upon having seen the Batman. That's why I just never paid it any mind.
You can watch it and you don't need to know anything. Anything you need to know, they tell you. There was an explosion during Batman and part of the city was destroyed. That's all you need to know.
Okay.
Beyond that,
yeah, I might give it a try.
Yeah, I highly suggest. It was very, very, very good.
Okay. I like DC better than Marvel anyway. Like I know that's kind of blasphemous to some people. Well, I mean, I figured it out that en masse, I like more DC characters than I do, Marvel. And I guess I have more of an affinity to Batman. And I think that Batman's a really interesting character. I think all his villains are really interesting, and I'm just way more familiar with it. I connected more with Batman as a kid than I did, say, I mean, I liked X-Men, but only like, superficially. Like I wasn't as into it as I was Batman. Like I know that's going to sound like a basic bitch answer for comic books, but hey, like I just really, that was what I was into. Michael Keaton Batman was huge at the time, and I even went so back and watched the Adam West, Burt Ward, Cesar Romero. Like I really like that universe. I think the villains are really compelling. I think it's just awesome that Batman's just a dude too. Like that's my thing.
Yeah, the '89 Batman is still my favorite, most rewatchable for me.
Yes, 100%.
How come you're such a big Batman fan but didn't see the new one then?
Well, back to what we were saying about the whole internet criticism thing. I usually don't respond to that.
Mm-hmm.
I usually don't, but with the runtime, and I don't dislike Pattinson when he's put in the appropriate roles.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think that he's a good actor. I think that Daisy Ridley is a good actress. I think she just needs better vessels, Yeah.
So well, I mean, the Lighthouse is great,
Yeah. I'm kind of on the fence about The Lighthouse. I think visually it was great, but I wasn't as I wasn't invested in the story as I was in like The Witch and like Nosferatu, like all the other Eggers stuff. Yeah, but it was the runtime, it was the internet criticism. It's also, it kind of offended me, the fact that I felt like the Nolan movies had just kind of come out. And then I realized Dark Knight Rises was like in 2008. And so that I don't do math very well apparently, or I think, it feels just like yesterday, when in reality, when did Batman come out? The Batman, it was like 2022 or something like that.
I think so. But yeah, I think 2022.
So that's help me. 2008 to 2022, that's
13 years, 14 years.
13. So that's almost a pretty apt time for a remake. Enough time has passed to where you can have a new incarnation of it. But so it was like a combination of all those factors. Like I was like, why? Like, what is the purpose of this? Like, why do we need this type thing? Yeah.
Well, it's interesting because when you think about it, that's actually a wider window than the time between Batman and Robin and Batman Begins.
And somebody put that into perspective for me too. That like everybody's like, hey, you want to go see Batman Begins? I'm like, they restarted Batman again? But yeah, like Batman, what was that? Like 97, 98 or something like that?
The Batman Begins came out?
No, I think Batman Begins was like 2005, but I'm saying like Batman and Robin was like 98 or 99.
I think 97. 98.
Okay,
97,
yeah,
maybe
yeah.
98, but I think 97. And then when did Dark Knight Rises? When did Dark Knight Rises? I think Dark Knight Rises was later in 2008. I think it was like 2000.
No, I'm talking about Batman Begins was
Yeah, but
2005.
I'm thinking I don't think Dark Knight Rises was 2008. I think it was later than that
You think
because
so?
yeah, because I was living in Washington, and I think I went with my friends in Washington, and I wouldn't have been hanging out with them till probably like 2011. Let me see.
Okay.
I think
I'm looking it up right now. I'm consulting the internet's. Okay.
2012,
Okay, 2012. Okay, so Dark Knight was 2008. Okay.
but
So then the
still 10
window.
years. Still 10 years between.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That's when you think about it, that is kind of wild because, again, there's so many things. I guess this is kind of the perils of getting old is we experience so many pieces of art in our lives that were just like it feels just like yesterday, but
Yeah.
there's like this huge lapse of time in between, and so to me it feels too soon, but to
Right.
somebody that's going to be 17, 18, 19 or whatever the appropriate age for it would be, it's perfect,
Yeah. Yeah. Because they really probably weren't old enough to experience those the previous ones in the theater. I mean,
Right.
they've seen them, but they didn't really. It's not their Batman movies; it's their uncle's
Right.
Batman movies or something.
Yeah.
Uh,
Kids these days, well, and that's what can be said about the Adam West Batman. Like that was for a whole different generation, and
yeah,
to us it kind of. I mean, I liked them for different reasons because I just thought they were goofy. But like
they're fun.
one of my friends was just like, "Oh, they're corny like that," and I was like, "Oh, how dare you!" But now I could see why people would think that. I can look from a different perspective. So yeah, I mean,
But
different.
also, to be fair, they were meant to be corny though. Like it wasn't something that was like we're going to make a serious thing and then that's what they produced.
Right.
Like they like they knew what they were doing intentionally. And but I mean that stuff was for me as a kid. That was like I would race home from school because I could, if I got home fast enough, I could catch. They would do 2 episodes back to back at like 3:30 and 4, and that was the only like live action the only comic book related material on TV I could watch until like the X-Men cartoon came out. In like
Oh, wow.
92. There just wasn't comic book related material on TV or
Right.
in film back then.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's true. I mean, but you got to admit though, Darker Batman is better.
It is. It's so much better. Yeah. But
I wouldn't go so far to say as Nolan Batman is better because I have a conflicted opinion about the Nolan Batmans. I think Tim Burton absolutely 100% had the best vision for Batman as far as cinematically.
I agree with you 100% because he kept some of the comic book feel without being the goofy like 60s show.
Right.
He was able to still capture that like this is a slightly imaginary, like slightly exaggerated version of reality where someone can dress up as a bat, but also it's not so crazy where you have like bat shark repellent you spray or like, he's not going to go surfing. Don't worry.
Right.
Yeah, until what's his name? Shoemaker took over. And then they went that ice skating scene with Dr. Freeze and stuff. But yeah, I always caught a lot of shit, especially from friends of mine too, because I don't love the Nolan movies that much either. Like I think the second one is good. The second one is definitely the most watchable. Heath Ledger is like so compelling. To me, that's the best one by far. The first one kind of is not very. It's kind of boring. It's kind of clunky. Okay. It's just kind of like in yeah. It's too rooted in you want to be. They want to be so rooted in reality, but there's still a guy dressed as a bat. And you're like, you kind of can't be that rooted in reality when a guy has fucking wings on his head. Like,
yeah,
so
and plus that, and it's an origin story. I know a lot of people aren't a big fan of like the origin story movie, but I will say like that version definitely has the best on-screen incarnation. Well, I guess the only on-screen incarnation at this point of Scarecrow, unless Scarecrow shows up in Penguin or anything like that.
Is he in? No, I don't think he's in the Batman movie, but not in Penguin. So, yeah. I mean, Scarecrow is interesting, but yeah, the movie overall. I mean, I think they really didn't do justice to like the whole Ra's al Ghul thing, and I don't know. It just was kind of wasn't it, but also I get a lot of shit for this in general. I think Christopher Nolan's overrated in general. So,
dude, you and I definitely agree.
Yeah,
it's I always have this fight with my neighbor because he swears up and down like Christopher Nolan's the next Kubrick, and I'm like, visually like he's got a lot of flashy stuff going on, but yeah, I don't really. I was not compelled to see Oppenheimer.
I still haven't seen it.
I think Inception was okay. I do like Interstellar. I think that was pretty good. I guess it's just because I'm such a 2001 fan, but to me it feels like 2001 light.
Yeah,
like 2001 with schmaltzy melodrama.
It's Christopher Nolan has these fans that like I think want to be film snobs, but don't really know how to justify any of it. But if they say they like Christopher Nolan movies, it makes them sound smart, because I have said this to I've got a couple buddies who are diehard Nolan fans, and every single one I'm like, explain Tenet to me, tell me what it's about, and none of them have ever been able to give me a competent explanation about what the movie means and what it's about, and I'm like, exactly. I tried to watch it and I'm like, I don't know what the fuck is happening in this film. I
don't even think Christopher Nolan knew what it was about.
To
be truthful. Yeah. I'm with you there. What was that one he did, Following, back in the day? Okay. I like Insomnia. I think Insomnia is pretty fucking good.
His early stuff is good. Insomnia, even Memento.
Yeah, Memento's pretty good too. But yeah, just his later stuff. I would say probably post-Batman was when he kind of started to drop off a little bit. But yeah, I mean, I had a buddy say the same thing about Kubrick. He thinks Kubrick is one of those ones that, guys who want to sound smart and intellectual will say that they like. And I'm like, I disagree. I think that he's legitimately good. I think the themes in his movies are very layered. I think very cerebral, thoughtful pieces.
Yeah,
I think he just wanted to be a contrarian because he always does that shit. Like he would always just say, just kind of stick his nose up at certain things just for the sake of it. He's like, I just legitimately didn't enjoy it. I'm like, shut up, dude. I'm like, shut up. Like you just want to go against for the sake of going against.
Yeah, you just want to argue. I mean, I've certainly met people who either actively dislike or don't understand Kubrick, but to me, it's like, and again, everyone likes different stuff, but I mean, if you know anything about, even have a cursory knowledge about film on more than just a surface level of, I watched these pictures happen. And this is, like again, like we talked about, like when you're talking about the cinematography, the way scenes are set up, the way his use of color in symmetry in things like, it's just some of like, you watch some of the symmetry and the way in The Shining, the way things are cut to and framed, and then the way the cameras just move and the way the symmetry sticks and the colors, and it just, I mean, everything about it, you're like, it's just builds this whole fabric of a reality that filmmakers don't use anymore.
That's true. And he was one of those types that should have liked those movies. He would have said like, I think they're good-looking movies, but I think he was more interested in performances and character studies, which
Mm.
I think those films have.
Oh
You
yeah.
know, like I think that they have them in spades. You know, like I think the characters are very well fleshed out, and I think their performances are fantastic. But he just, I think he's more interested. Like he definitely kind of appreciated like Fellini and like Antonioni and stuff like that,
Mhm.
and I like those films for different reasons, but he couldn't get beyond the fact that Kubrick's films were more visually driven than
Yeah.
performance driven. You know
Y-
what I'm saying?
yeah.
I yeah.
You know what I think it might be? I'm just having this thought as we're talking, is that the with his leads are always very, very um, conflicted, and there's a lot of really dark confrontation that these people have to have. Even going back to something like Lolita, you're talking about a main character that's dealing with his potential penchant for pedophilia, right? Like, I mean, or like this torrid love that he has for his stepdaughter.
15-year-old.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like and so really hard themes that you really to think about it, you have to at least be able to not relate to the character and like, I might bang my 15-year-old stepdaughter, but like, like get in this thought process of holy shit, what would I do in that scenario, and like how or the character in The Shining, or Alex in Clockwork Orange, or even I forget his name, but the guy in the Dave in 2001: A Space Odyssey. They're in
Oh,
very
Dave Bowman. Yeah.
yeah, so they're in very difficult uh, moral positions, right? And I think people maybe have trouble putting themselves in those positions because it's frightening for them to even think about themselves. So,
Sure.
so a lot of people maybe aren't able to experience that because they're too scared to let their mind even get that far. Does that make sense?
Well, yeah, I'd agree with you there. I also think that people don't have the patience to sit through a lot of those
Yeah.
movies,
Yeah.
and I think if they don't, then they'll definitely miss a lot of those, kind of character conflicts, like emotional and mental conflicts, just because they think the film is boring. You
Yeah.
know, I never got that out of that, just because I'm so drawn in by the visuals and the symmetry and the landscape of everything that I'm hyper focused.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that helps me really kind of hone in to like the psyche of the characters and be like, what's he thinking? What is she thinking? Like, and the characters, like the actors and the performances are such that they don't even have to say anything sometimes,
Yeah.
and you can just kind of read like the expressions on their face and kind of see what they are internalizing, just because Kubrick had this real penchant for hiring such talented actors and actresses who really kind of understood their characters and what they were trying to convey.
And he had such a unique way of pulling that out of people too. Some may call abusive, others may call just good filmmaking. Yeah, but I mean, yeah, like you look at like a movie like There Will Be Blood, where I don't think the first word is spoken till like 27 minutes into the film. And to me, that 27 minutes, I'm just like this, just glued. Like,
Really?
oh, are you not a There Will Be Blood guy?
I couldn't get through it.
Oh fuck, dude.
And I know, and I'm a guy that should like that movie. I'm, and you know what? I may go back and give it a chance again, but every time I watched it, boom, fast asleep.
Uh,
I all right, controversial opinion. I think Daniel Day-Lewis is overrated.
I will say that he is overrated. I
Okay.
think he's a good actor, but to call him that, like the actor of our generation, I'm like, or like, this generational talent. I'm like, I mean, he's good at what he does. I'm not sure if he.
Yeah. Another thing is too, I saw the whole milkshake monologue, and I was like,
Yeah.
this is so goofy. Like this is so goofy, Like I couldn't get past that. But maybe I'll need to give it another watch. I'll tell you another like movie I should have liked that I just could not get into was Once Upon a Time in the West.
Uh,
Boring.
oh,
God, I would rather watch paint dry. Have you seen it?
no, I don't think, is that not the old Eastwood, Clint Eastwood one?
It's a Sergio Leone one.
Yeah. Okay.
It's
Yeah.
got Henry Fonda and Charles Bronson.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah. I
Yeah.
don't know if I've seen it as an adult. Those type of movies my dad loved when I was younger. I'd watch that type. I don't, it hasn't gotten a clean shake as like a film viewer from me.
I mean, if you want some good ambience when you go to sleep, like
Okay.
that's it right there. No, I love Sergio Leone. I think he's masterful at what he does.
Yeah.
I just really couldn't connect with the movie. It was a little too meandering at parts. It was very, I don't know. I just didn't connect with him as much as I did with like the Dollars trilogy and the No Name character.
Yeah.
Just it lacked energy and excitement. I just, and from somebody who can normally deal with those kinds of films that like very methodical pacing, it just didn't do it for me.
Where are you at on like No Country for Old Men?
That's a good one. That's
Okay. There we go.
yeah. No, I I generally like most of the Coen brothers stuff. I think that
Same.
they're pretty hit most of the time. It's brutal, bleak, violent. I didn't know who Javier Bardem was before he was in that movie, and then I kind of went back and watched some of his back catalog, and I think he nails it. I haven't watched it in a long time though, and I almost kind of want to go back and give it a revisit.
It's
I think,
it's one of my favorites, man. And that's another movie where I don't think there's like a word is spoken for like the first 23 minutes or something.
oh wow,
it's a dense one where you're a long ways into the movie before you realize, and there's not a lot of like, it's not like In There Will Be Blood where there's some background music. Like they have like a tonal thing and not really music, but like this kind of pitch happening. Whereas in No Country for Old Men, it's just kind of, you just hear him walking, there's not really like or I think there's like maybe maybe that opening scene, Javier Bardem has some dialogue, and then it's a big chunk without it. Maybe that's it. But anyway, yeah, there's like a big chunk of that film where there's just no one talking.
Yeah, I need to rewatch it again. I did you ever read any of the novels, like Cormac McCarthy, any of his stuff? Yeah, yeah. Sunset Limited. I did one of the monologues from that play for one of my final monologues when I was in my acting conservatory. It's
nice.
very, very well written. Only two characters. Yeah, I think you'd like it.
I got to tell you this, since you were not a huge, or at least think Daniel Day-Lewis is overrated. During COVID, I was, just trapped in my house in Washington. And I had like the only thing I still consume ever is mushrooms. I still do mushrooms, not as much as I used to, but I mean, during COVID, I was like once a week, twice a week, I was like, and I'm just in my house. I'm just like, maybe I'd bike downtown and like walk, because no one was around, and just run around downtown Spokane. But I was in my house just eating mushrooms and just fucking, like nothing to do.
Yeah.
So I started filming a ton of sketches.
Oh God.
And I had this idea, because Daniel Day-Lewis had just retired, right? He'd just done Lincoln or whatever this last movie was, and he'd retired.
Phantom Thread. Okay,
there you go. And and I had just, right before COVID, or right around that time, the movie Cats had come out. And it was terrible, right? It was awful. We went and saw it as like a lark.
Okay.
you know, like no, we didn't think it was gonna be good. We were like, this will be fun. We'll go watch this movie and make fun of it. And it was that for like 20 minutes. And then you realize just you're in the movie watching the Cats for the next 2 hours. It was a terrible choice. But
while on shrooms.
Yeah, not at the movie. No,
Okay.
not that movie. But it gave me this idea I wrote this sketch about Daniel Day-Lewis came out of retirement because he really wanted to do the movie Cats. So I do that. There's I basically just like kind of improv'd these scenes where I dressed up as a cat and I'm like talking as Daniel Day-Lewis and like, you know, talking about how I just had to do this role. I thought they're doing the movie, had to come out of retirement, and how he like lived his life as a cat to be for like months to prepare for this role. And still to this day, like every now and then, I'll like once a year, it'll come up in my Facebook memories, and I watch it again. I'm like, that might be my favorite thing I've ever done that nobody else cares about, but my God. It is just to me.
You have to show me these. That sounds really interesting.
I'll send it. I'll send the link. It's on my
to
YouTube.
be fair, I don't hate Daniel Day-Lewis. I happen to really like a lot of his movies. I'll tell you what, a scene that I think Daniel Day-Lewis absolutely brings his A game is in My Left Foot, where they're at the dinner table, and his woman tells him that, oh, now I'm gonna date this guy, and he's like here trapped, like he's a fucking paraplegic, you know, and like he's just here like trapped in this situation that he can't get out of, and so he just keeps ordering more. Have you seen it?
No.
Oh
No.
So can I spoil it for you?
Sure, yeah, go ahead.
Just this part, like he just keeps ordering liquor and just slamming it back and just slamming it back, and it's like, so like when you've been there, like emotionally and mentally, where it's just like, you know, you're either going through a breakup or you're you know, dealing with you know, something heavy like that in your life, but then there's this added layer of the fact that he's disabled and is being essentially like cucked in this situation, being forced to eat dinner with his ex and her new lover, and he's like, fuck this, you know, like that to me was so like heartbreaking, you know, and like he's just like just slamming him back, just like one right after the other, and it's almost like, you know, it like violently, like just, you know, and it kind of keeps going and going. You're like, when's he gonna stop, you know? And they like the people are at the table are just getting really upset with him. That scene really just, you know, kind of I think would make anybody, you know, emotional.
What's it called?
My Left Foot.
Interesting.
Yeah, he won an Academy Award for that movie, I think. It's about a writer, Christie. I can't think of his last name. But yeah, won the Academy Award for it. I like Last of the Mohicans.
Oh yeah,
I like The Crucible. I think he's good. I just, you know, I don't know. I don't think he, you know, like the Beatles. Like I had this conversation on another podcast. Like the Beatles, I really like the Beatles. I don't think they're the best band ever, but they're really good. Like Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
I like those movies. I think they're really good. I don't think they're the best movies ever, you know, like
who's the best
kind of my
band
feelings.
Ever?
The best what?
Who's the best band ever?
The best band ever? Oh, it would be a band you've never heard of, sir.
I think the Beatles are in the running at least. Come on, they transcended so many genres.
Yes. Again, I think they're really good, and I would, if, you know, Strawberry Fields or Eleanor Rigby or, you know, one of those songs came on the radio, I might keep it on and maybe even sing along to it, you know, but yeah. I don't find myself going back and listening to the White Album or Abbey Road or anything like that. It's just, you know, it's fine to me. It's fine, you know. Yeah. The band I'm talking about is Neurosis from San Francisco Bay Area, Oakland. They're really, really just, heavy and sludgy and, definitely not Beatles, kind of esque or anything, but
I guess it depends on what you're into too. Cause like that, I was doing trivia with my aunt and uncle the other night, and there's some hip hop question came up from like 80s rappers. And I was like, bam, nailed it. And she's like, my aunt's like, oh, hip hop? I'm like, yeah, I know. I grew up in LA in the 80s. I'm like, I know all the hip hop. I'm a big hip hop head. And she goes, what about any of that? Her son, who's my cousin, is like, he's like 15 years younger than me though. She's like, he likes all that Screamo stuff. You like that Screamo stuff, like Avenged Sevenfold and this and that? I'm like, I know absolutely nothing about that music. Like gun to my head, I couldn't name one Avenged Sevenfold song or like any of these. Like, it takes in spirit as intended. I always call it white people music. I'm like, I have no idea. No, like rock. I know Nirvana, and like that's beyond that. I'm like, I got none of it.
It's interesting though, because she called it Screamo, and that was actually a whole other subgenre of hardcore music back in like the early mid 90s, to where it was basically like it's hardcore, but like it, that whole term got kind of, it's like a misnomer now, to where like if you're a metal band, now you're called Screamo. If you're a hardcore punk band, you're Screamo.
Sure,
and Screamo was a whole like completely different movement that actually kind of originated in DC. There was like these bands like Rites of Spring, Orchid, all these other bands, and anyway, just bugs me whenever people use that term, like
she's like a 60-year-old white girl from Missoula, Montana. So she's probably definitely misgenring niche rock, punk music from the 90s. I guarantee
she gets a pass then.
Yes.
She gets a pass. Yeah.
Here, I was going to see, I don't know if I can do this. Hold on. Let me see if I can do this. Do you see this?
Are you screen sharing?
Yeah. Do you see this?
Not yet.
Hold on. Let's see if I can figure out how to. Oh, here we go.
Okay. All right.
This is the. I pulled this up. This is the. It's called The Final Role.
Okay.
Daniel Day-Lewis, greatest actor of a generation, comes out of retirement.
All right, here we go.
Is my mic hooked up properly? Yeah, I think you're hooked up good. That's good. So, what made you decide to come out of retirement?
I read the script and I just had to be a part of it.
And you requested an audition.
They say some roles are born for you, and some roles you're born for. And I was in the litter born for this role.
I'm sorry, I don't think your cigarette is actually lit.
Acting! It's called acting, man. God.
So would you call it the role of a lifetime?
It was the role of 9 lifetimes. I'm Daniel Day-Lewis. And I'm auditioning for Cats. I dedicated myself to living the next year as a cat. Being a cat is not as easy as I thought it would be. It's hard for cats. Their life is so complicated, you see. And we'll figure them out, and we'll find out what makes them purr. Sticking my ass in everyone's face when they come over is starting to wear on them, I can tell, but they don't understand how important this is. You don't just act like you're a cat. What, do you think just any flimsy, non-acting, Grammy-winning singer can just have CGI put on her and then all of a sudden she's a cat? I doubt it. I mean, what are they going to do? Have Taylor Swift in the movie? Don't be absurd. This is film. Hollywood. We're actors. I mean, the other day I just hid under the porch for hours. And then my wife upset me, so I urinated on the bed. This may be the hardest role I've ever prepared for.
You know raccoons are technically cats? Yes, they're just good at acting like they're not. Clever. Clever creatures. Very clever. You know, as a child, I had a cat. He was a tabby. You know, I used to watch him play with his ball of yarn. And as he played with it, all I could think was, I just don't believe you. Where's the conviction, man? I mean, sure, you love that ball of yarn, but why? Why do you love it? What is it about it that is rooted deep in your soul that makes you need that yarn? 2 weeks later, my cat was ran over and killed by a truck. And that's when I began practicing how to cry.
I think to know if I'm prepared, I have to test the 9 lives theory. I'm going to kill myself. And if I come back, I know I'm truly ready for this role.
Oh no.
If everything's gone as planned, I will have become a cat.
We are more than just cats. We are felines, descendants of lions, king of the jungle, and we shall rule.
Sorry, excuse me, Daniel.
I'm sorry. What?
Daniel, I'm gonna stop you right there. Can you just do the lines that are in the script, please? Thank you.
Oh yes, I was just improvising a bit, spicing it up, really bringing my own energy to the character.
I know what you were trying to do, but just the lines, please. I need the lines.
Sure, yeah, okay. Jellicle cat, I'm a jellicle cat. Who's a jellicle cat?
Okay, great, thank you. We'll let you know if you're going to be in Cats. What is he even doing here? Does he have a drug addiction or a gambling debt or something? I don't understand why he's...
Really, I thought I'd have more trouble defecating into a litter box, but it turns out that comes quite naturally for me.
You know, a lot of people said I couldn't be a cat. That this role wasn't for me, but I ask, do they feel that way, meow? Because my audition was perfect.
And the Academy Award goes to.
It's
great.
I said it's ridiculous. It's still, I mean, I just like, I filmed that all by myself. Just set up cameras, set up everything, and then was just like, hi, and I'm like, just start talking. We'll figure it out in post.
There you go. There you go, man. Yeah. No, that's great.
Oh.
Yeah. Daniel Day-Lewis. Wow. He's an odd one. He's a weirdo. He's got that, remember when De Niro decided to do Fearless Leader from Rocky and Bullwinkle? Everybody's like, what the fuck?
No.
Oh, yeah.
Uh-uh.
Yeah. That was an interesting, he wanted to do it. They didn't ask him. He was like, no, I want to be Fearless Leader. And I never saw the movie, but it was a big deal at the time.
I forget they made a movie about that. They made that movie.
Everyone did. Did.
Fuck.
Yeah,
man. What time is it? Okay. I probably got to wrap this up soon. But tell everyone before we go, let them know where they can find you, the podcasts, what to expect on the podcast. We didn't even talk about the podcast at all.
but it's fine.
Where they find you, how they can find it, what they can expect on the show.
So the T&F podcast is, like you had mentioned at the top of the hour, it's a weekly, sometimes bi-weekly show. It's on Sundays at 5 p.m. Eastern Time, or sometimes at Wednesdays at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. We focus a lot on music, but we've had actors and directors, and we just actually recently had, if you're a fan of The Terminator, and you know the scene in the tech noir whenever Sarah Connor and Michael Biehn and Arnold Schwarzenegger are all in there, the music that's playing is Tawny Kane. She was married to Jonathan Cain from Journey and had this whole music career. And Tawny Kane and the Triangles is the name of the group. Anyway, she breaks down the whole how she got involved with Terminator and with her husband and all the projects that she's had in the ensuing years. And you know, I really love talking about movies. We do that on there sometimes, but I don't get to do it very often when it's, you know, dealing with musicians, even though they you know, there's a Venn diagram of art interests sometimes, but you know, this has been actually a really great opportunity, because like film is like, to me, I almost try to look at it like a second language, you know. But you can find me at the T&F T&F podcast on YouTube. We're also on Spotify and Apple Music. If you want a high quality episode, because the episodes are on YouTube are typically live streaming, but if you want like a real high quality episode, head on over to Spotify and to Apple Music. And you can find me on Instagram at the THET and ANDF podcast. So check me out. I'm on my socials all the time, giving updates, and would love for you to subscribe and give us a follow, give us a rating, do all that. I have an official merch line too. I want to plug that real quick. Hell's Heart Merch Co. We do movie themed, and so we do some shirts for some hardcore bands, and they're usually like mocks of like movies. Like we have one that's an Apocalypse Now, a Repo Man mock, and just head on over there. They're really nice shirts. If you want to purchase one, use the code 20 for 20% off your entire order. And Bella Canvas, really soft shirts. I think you'll like them. And yeah, would love your support. And dude, I thank you so much for doing the show, and I'm really stoked that you're coming up, and you know, like you got on a network and you're doing so well with your comic, and I wish you the absolute best of success. And I had a real blast. My face hurts from laughing so much. I don't get to be as irreverent on that show sometimes, because I know you can deal with the offensive shit and the you know, being a comedian, and that you're not gonna like clutch your pearls or anything like that. So yeah, it's fun. It's really fun.
Like we talked earlier, there's nothing you can say on the show that'll go against any. I have no morals to be had, so it won't, you know, can't offend me.
We're cut from the same cloth then. Good.
Well, everyone, go check him out, follow, give him a subscribe and like on all the social media, listen to the podcast, check it out, and all the great guests, and subscribe, give a review, and all that good stuff, guys. Again, new episodes every Sunday, sometimes Wednesdays, so you know when and where to listen. And that's it, guys. As for me, go to deececomedy.com, check out everything going on across the network. We've got live shows going on, stuff happening. You can find us on the Madness Entertainment Network now. We got a lot of big plans for this show and that network, and that network's been around forever, and it's growing rapidly. They've got some cool stuff they're going to do that we're going to get to be a part of. So keep your eyes peeled for all that. And again, Kill Stand number 1 and 2 now available. So if you didn't pre-order with Kickstarter, hit me up and we will get you your copies and we will make it happen, guys. So that's it, guys. For the Social Hour, I am Deece. Thank you very much. And we will see you all next week. And